Over the last few days, world headlines have screamed that 1,000 climbers are trapped by a Himalayan blizzard on top of Mount Everest. TV channels and news articles online have recycled years-old footage of Mount Everest. Social media lit up and the story spread like wildfire. My telephone blew up. People were texting me from all over the world saying, "What's going on Mount Everest?" Yes, it is a terrible storm and it's a very serious situation, but it's not Mount Everest climbers. As of this moment, there is only one team on Mount Everest, a handful of individuals. Yes, it's the tourist season. There are tons of tourists trekking toward and near Mount Everest, but not on the mountain. No, they are not climbers. They are tourists and trekkers. And that explains why they were so unprepared for the bad weather that came in. It's a classic example of the media taking a kernel of truth. Meanwhile, the real Everest story, the one that changed history, just took place on the south side of the mountain in Nepal. Polish ski mountaineer Andrzej Bargiel completed a never-before-done oxygen-free ski descent from Everest's summit all the way to base camp. It's one of the boldest feats ever accomplished on the mountain. And somehow that's not the headline. So now, can I get back to the video I was making before this blizzard hit the mountain? And at the same time, let's set the record straight and review some of the most notable ski and snowboard descents on Mount Everest. He stood at the summit of Mount Everest, silent, focused, resolute. The Hornbein Couloir stretched below him like a white scar carved into the north face. His two Sherpas begged him to turn back, but Marco Siffredi had made up his mind. "If I can't ride the Hornbein," he told friends, "I'd rather not descend at all." "See you tomorrow." Moments later, he dropped into the abyss. And then, silence. No tracks, no board, no Marco. The mountain kept its secret. Right now, legendary mountaineer and extreme skier Jim Morrison is on Mount Everest, preparing to attempt the first ski descent of the Hornbein Couloir. It's the holy grail of ski descents. Steep, unforgiving, from the summit down to the Rongbuk Glacier, the north face drops precipitously over 3,500 meters. Any mistake in the Hornbein Couloir would prove fatal. And Marco Siffredi, who disappeared in 2002, there's no trace of him. It's unknown whether his remains will ever be found. I wonder if standing at the brink before dropping in himself, if Jim Morrison will think of Marco Siffredi. My guess is Jim Morrison will shut it out completely and focus on the task at hand.
Want to take a look at Mount Everest?
Skiing Everest is not logical, and it certainly isn't necessary. But that's why it matters in the pantheon of Everest and the amazing stories that have taken place there since the British went to try and climb it back in the 1920s. So many legendary stories have taken place, and Jim Morrison certainly wants to add his name to the list of great ascents and descents of the mountain. Let's talk about some of the skiers that paved the way for skiers such as Bargiel, Jim Morrison, and even Marco Siffredi. In 1970, Youichiro Miura made the world news when he strapped a parachute to his back and launched himself down the Lhotse face on the south side in Nepal. He tumbled nearly 1,300 feet, or about 400 meters, before stopping just short of a crevasse. It was reckless, but it was also audacious, and the world stopped to take note. He was called the man who skied Everest. And there's a film about him that documents that incredible attempt by Youichiro Miura. He showed the world that the line between genius and madman is razor thin, and sometimes, just sometimes, to move forward, you need someone willing to cross that line. Do you think Youichiro Miura was a madman, or was he a genius? He certainly will be remembered forever and ever as one of the great legends of Everest. Before we get to the best part of this video, can we just stop for a moment so I can say thank you to the sponsor of this video? AG1. They're not only the sponsor of today's video, but really and truly my favorite daily health drink, and they have just dropped 3 new flavors: tropical, citrus, and berry. They are absolutely amazing. AG1 Next Gen helps me keep my edge. Just 1 scoop with 8 to 12 ounces of water, shake it up, and boom, you have whole body health support, including 75 vitamins, minerals, pre and probiotics, and whole food sourced ingredients. Just like you, I really need to take care of my brain, my gut, and my immune system. Vitamins, minerals, pre and probiotics, and antioxidants, no GMOs, no added sugars or animal byproducts, which is very, very important to me. This isn't just a bunch of hype. AG1 Next Gen backs it up with multiple gold standard clinical trials. They fill in the gaps and replace the need for a multivitamin, probiotics, and so much more. AG1 is perfect for my lifestyle. It supports my mental clarity, focus, and energy with ingredients selected for potency, nutrient density, and absorption to deliver the benefits that they're supposed to. AG1 uses naturally extracted essences, never uses added sugar or artificial sweeteners. Try AG1 for yourself, and now get this, head to my link or scan the QR code on the page now to get a free $76 welcome kit. That includes 5 AG1 travel packs, a shaker, a can, a scoop, and your 30-day supply, plus a bottle of vitamin D when you first subscribe. And that's all for less than $3 a day. So hit the link below or scan the QR code and let AG1 become part of your day. Okay, now back to some of these insane stories. Hans Kammerlander in the 1990s was a person that I looked up to. He inspired me greatly because of his fearlessness. Summiting without oxygen, he clicked into his skis and descended much of the north side, but he admitted after he got down that he had to remove his skis on seriously dangerous sections because there was just too much rock. It was in the Norton Couloir, where some years later Marco Siffredi would enter into the pantheon of greats by snowboarding down the Norton Couloir, but some of the sections were so rocky that he had to rappel through them, taking his skis off using crampons for stability. And now Marco Siffredi, who I've done a video on recently, and I'll put the link in the description, in 2001, he entered into the world of the greats in descending Mount Everest by successfully descending the Norton Couloir. He talked after the descent about the rock band that was probably the same rock band that Hans Kammerlander had encountered some years before. And after his successful descent of the Norton Couloir, his heart was set on the Hornbein Couloir. And of course, I go into great detail about it in the video that I mentioned earlier. And as we know, a year later, when Marco Siffredi did try to snowboard down the Hornbein Couloir, he disappeared. He had it in him that he had to do it. I said that he was resolute, and indeed he was. It cost him his life. In 2006, Tomas Olsson, a Swedish skier, attempted the Norton Couloir. An anchor failed during a rappel through a rocky section, and he fell nearly 2,000 meters to his death There was a team photographer on that expedition, and he provided a absolutely brutal account of the events that led up to the accident. And he reported this online, and he said at the time of the incident, he was situated at the North Col, while Tomas and his partner Tormod Granheim were still on the mountain. They didn't commence their descent until 1:20 p.m., he wrote. When they reached the top pyramid and descended to the balcony, Tormod began traversing toward the skiers left on the balcony, covering a distance of 200 meters. Tomas followed as the second skier. Upon reaching a narrow and steep gully, they skied down to a snow patch located above the rock band, which lies above the Norton Couloir. It was then that Tormod and Tomas noticed that Tomas's left ski had broken behind the binding, spelling obviously bad and possibly life-defining news. Tormod reported that Tomas became slightly stressed about the situation, and they attempted to repair the ski using climbing gear and duct tape. By this time, they're too far committed to exit, and so with the need to continue their descent, they began searching for suitable belay points to facilitate their abseil, their rappel. The solidness of the rock and the absence of ice beneath the snow patch made the task challenging. He goes on to say the solution they devised involved using 2 snow sticks and 1 ice axe as anchors for the rope. Considering that Tomas had the broken ski, he proceeded to abseil first, as he would likely be slower in navigating the Norton Couloir. Tragically, after 30 meters of rappelling or abseil, the anchor gave way, causing Tomas to plummet approximately 10 to 15 meters down the Norton Couloir. His partner attempted to catch the anchor after it snapped, but unfortunately, his efforts were in vain. Now imagine Tomas Olsson's partner, Tormod Granheim, who had just witnessed his close friend being killed and falling down through the Norton Couloir. He was so committed at the time that it would have been nearly impossible for him to exit and get to safety. So the only answer was to ski down through the Norton Couloir. At that time, his oxygen mask shattered in the cold, but he continued onward regardless and successfully descended the Norton Couloir, which I'm sure he has no doubt in his mind that Tomas Olsson would have succeeded as well if his ski had not had equipment failures himself.
Want to take a look at Mount Everest?
2011, Chris Davenport skied the Lhotse face. It's essentially a wall of blue ice that extends up from the end of the Western Coombe up toward the South Col. So about 1,000 meters of snow and most of the year hard blue ice. On this expedition with Chris Davenport, he was with Neil Beidleman of 1996 disaster fame. They carved, you can see by the footage, elegant turns where no doubt one slip would have proved completely fatal, but absolute beautiful style. It wasn't a complete ski descent, but a stylish descent of the Lhotse face. And you can see climbers coming up the Lhotse face. You know that they were probably wondering, what the hell are we witnessing? Is this actually real or am I hallucinating? And now, just in September, on the 22nd of this year, one of the most incredible and historic ski descents of the mountain took place by Andrzej Bargiel of Poland. He summited the mountain first without the use of any bottled oxygen, put his skis on, and descended from the summit all the way down to Camp 2. Now this is on the Nepal, on the south side of the mountain. And at Camp 2, he stopped and rested for the night, put his skis back on, and made it all the way back down to base camp. A complete ski descent, no oxygen. This is a first and certainly sets an extremely high standard for anybody looking to top that. I don't know if it's even possible to. And of course, we're watching and waiting with bated breath as Jim Morrison prepares to do a descent of the Hornbein Couloir on the north side. Perhaps as I record this video, that's already taken place. But we have yet to find out, as they're keeping their cards close to their chests. Bargiel's team had written that the climber needed 16 hours to cover the distance from Camp 4 up to the summit. And he summited with a local climber identified as Dawa Speed Sherpa. So you can see this photograph from the summit of the mountain taken by a drone. That little pole you see extending from Dawa Speed Sherpa's hands is no doubt a camera or a GoPro on there to document the descent. The press release from this notes that Bargiel managed to cross the Khumbu icefall completely on skis without using any of the fixed ropes. This is one of the more dangerous parts of the mountain because of all the crevasses and the seracs that could topple at any time, but he did it without that. The ascent took much longer than expected, and he spent nearly 16 hours before summiting. He summited shortly after 3 p.m. that afternoon on September 22nd. As planned, he started skiing down just minutes after reaching the top. I would imagine any time wasted on the summit would only make him more tired and weaker. And so what he did was he slid down the Hillary Step. I can't even imagine the south summit and over the balcony to the South Col. Some of the footage that's been released, we're waiting desperately to see more of it, but this footage is absolutely phenomenal. And then by 5:20 p.m., Bargiel had descended below Camp 4, continued left of what's known as the Geneva Spur, kind of a rock bump that everybody has to cross to get from the Lhotse face to Camp 4 and then back again. And he landed down at Camp 2 at 8:30 p.m. local time. And then the next morning he got up at 7 a.m. and continued across the western Khum down through the Khumbu icefall. So most notably, Bargiel is the first to ski Everest completely from the summit to base camp without bottled oxygen. Davo Karnicar of Slovenia, who also achieved a complete ski descent in 2000, did use oxygen on the upper sections. Can you blame him? Bargiel just wanted to top it and do it without still a remarkable accomplishment. And as Angela Benavides goes on to say in this wonderful article in Explorers Web, she says this is no doubt a remarkable achievement that adds to the already impressive career of Bargiel. I haven't even gone into what he did already. Previously had climbed and skied down 4 8,000-meter peaks in the Karakoram of Pakistan, which includes K2 in 2018. That's an entire video of its own that we'll get to, but reporting on this because it's essentially fresh news. These were all complete no oxygen descents, and he had previously attempted to ski Everest in 2019 and 2022. And so fortunately for us, the expedition this year with Bargiel was well documented, and there were regular updates from the team. Jim Morrison On the Hornbein side, on the north side of the mountain, his ski descent and attempt will certainly be well documented, but the National Geographic team has chosen to keep it really under wraps, so very little is known about his progress, or if they've terminated the expedition, or if they've succeeded, and we can only hope for the best and for the safety of the Sherpa that are on the team, the film crew, and Jim Morrison himself. And as we all know, Jim Morrison, as he stands on top of Everest looking down into the Hornbein Couloir, we realize that he must not only need to deal or reckon with the mountain, but with the ghosts that came before him. So we send all our best regards to all the people caught in this blizzard, the tourists and the trekkers that are there, wishing them safety and the best of successes, as well as on the Nepal side of the mountain, where there has been an extensive amount of flooding. And we also wish Jim Morrison the best in his endeavors to make history on the Hornbein Couloir. Now, YouTube thinks that you're going to enjoy this video right here, so be sure to take a moment to click on it and enjoy that video as well. Do a good deed, don't ask for anything in return. Make the world a better place, one tiny step at a time. Peace be with you.